Hi, my name is Benny Johnson. As some of you know, I've been struggling with addiction. However, I decided to change my life and went into recovery. I started this podcast 90 Days Clean, and I want to take you along in my journey. What does lie ahead of me? Let me be frank, I do not know. Will I ever drink again? I do not know. This is how Stairway to Redemption was born. It is my search for answer in a real-time process of what is going to work for me. It is then my aspiration to help you figure out what's going to work for you. It is our journey together. Welcome back to another Stairway to Redemption. Today, I have the pleasure of hosting Josie. Josie is the founder of Keys to Dharma. It's a life coaching service. She helps people finding their purpose in life through Dharma. Josie and I met at a holistic event on Long Island. I've mentioned in previous episode that I've taken a deeper dive into the holistic community, sounds bath, Reiki meditation, and more tools to add or to strengthen my recovery. Well, in that community, you have an eclectic group of people. Some are in recovery, like me. Others believe in alternative lifestyle. And the idea of purpose, which concerns us all, is a recurrent topic. So this week I give you Josie who's going to explain to us how one find a purpose in life. Hey, Josie, how you doing?
Hi, I'm doing well today. I'm so excited to be here. Today is also a full moon. I don't know if you know that.
Oh, okay.
Um, but it is a big full moon. It's called the blue moon today.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, I'm excited about
I'm
being
I'm
here.
glad. That's one more question because I forgot about the moon stuff. All right, like okay, I'm gonna sound like a little bit like I know, like a non-believer who's like how you say it, like a miscreant or something. But yeah, yeah. So let's start first with the state of the mind address. So what's going on with you lately, Josie? How do you feel? What's in your life?
Okay. So we're like reaching the end of summer. This summer was kind of like a low vibe for me. I didn't really want to do much. I didn't really want to plan much. Right before summer happened in April, I was actually fired from my job. I was working at a law firm and I was also doing coaching on the side. So I was trying to juggle both. And, I was thinking to myself, like, how long am I really going to juggle both? How long am I going to, hold back from doing what I really feel in my heart that I'm meant to be doing? So I just wasn't putting my all into the job. They saw that and they're like, we don't know how to say this, but we're going to let you go. And I was like, yay!
Okay.
Thank you so much. Because I knew, like, I hated being there. The attorneys were just so cranky and created such a horrible environment. So I was like, no problem. Let me get my shit and let me get out. So that happened in April. I was so excited. I was going to go out and do my coaching and go to every business and just try to like expand and just like spread my coaching and talk more about it. So I did that for like the first 2 weeks. And then I reached some kind of lull or maybe like a little depression state where I was like, oh shit, this is really on me now. Like, I'm not going to go back to another law firm. I already knew that. And I was like, wow, like now it's all up to me. I guess I kind of got scared or I was just like overwhelmed with it being kind of on my shoulders now to provide money, provide, my purpose. And I have a daughter. So with that, just like, what am I going to do? So I kind of reached a low point. And I just kind of went within, which usually happens after some big thing happens in our life, fired or a breakup. It's such a big moment and so much energy happening that we get into this state of almost like a depression or just a low point. So that's what I was dealing with throughout the summer, just figuring out my purpose again, just kind of reframing and revising, like, what is my message that I want to share with people? What am I actually doing? So I was just kind of reflecting, having a reflective period. And now that it's going to be full time, I feel like my energy is picking up. I'm more motivated. I am more inspired. So I am feeling good now, but life is always like that. We always go through cycles of ups and downs, and it's just about like moving through each one and just accepting like where I'm at. So now that's where I'm at, and I'm excited to be doing this podcast. This is my first podcast. So it's kind of like a turning point that I am ready to share my voice, and I'm ready, to help more people.
All right, awesome. Like I like how you share a question. Like I'm curious, how does one, who goes through like you said, the up and valleys of life, how do you make sure that the valleys are not too damaging, like that you not feel too low, so low that you take longer than it should require to get back up on the horse? Like what was your process like when you know,
I love that
yeah.
question. Yeah, I love it because when you're in it,
Hmm.
I totally feel like that. Like, wow, like, what am I doing? I'm not doing enough. I'm just sitting here. I'm in this low point. Like, I know I'm in this low point. I don't have like the energy to really get out of it. So I feel like the most important thing that we can do while we're in those moments is just like really acknowledging it.
Okay.
And, just like really kind of feeling into it and sitting in it. It's okay to be in that moment. There's nothing wrong with it. It's natural. It's a natural part of that cycle. So this summer, I really did sit in it, and I journaled a lot, and I just journaled what I was feeling. And, I journaled inspirational things of, what I want to do once I'm out of it, because I know that point is going to come. So I just I accept it. I accept that, I'm in a low point right now, and there's just so much transitioning behind the scenes is what I feel like. Like maybe we're not doing anything, but things are lining up for us. Things are always lining up for us.
Hmm.
So it's just about um, recognizing it and sitting in it and giving ourselves compassion for being in that moment. And what I really love to do is journal. So I journaled so much this summer, like more than I've ever done, of just, what do I want my life to look like? And I wrote down all my habits of good habits and bad habits, and just like kind of analyzing that and seeing, what can I let go of, or what can I change just a little bit? Because even that smallest change is going to move you forward in some way. So those are some things.
Beautifully answered. Yeah. Yeah, tell us more about you. What's your story like? How did you become a life coach? How, because like you said, you didn't give your whole to like your day job, the law firm thing. And I can tell that you realized that was not your calling. You started a thing on the side, but obviously maybe for financial reason, it was not the right moment to jump ship. But like, what was it? Why did you? How did you became aware that your life purpose was to help other people find their purpose?
Like it. Okay. So I'll try to keep it brief.
Hmm.
So like I said, I was working in law firms. Of course, this was 2020 when I realized, I just had a new calling. Um, so it was 2020. I had my daughter in 2020. Right after I had her, I'm on maternity leave. And it just kind of hit me how, in a few weeks, I have a very new baby and I'm going to have to go back to work all day long, and send her off to a daycare or something. So just kind of looking at that was like one point where I was like, that's definitely not how I want my life to look like. A lot of people, they just do that and they don't think of like, what else can I do instead of that? Because that's just like the norm. You do the maternity leave, you get back to work, you get back on the horse, and you just keep going and you just do what you're supposed to do. So already right there, I hated that feeling, of not really having control of what I'm doing in my life. I started working in law firms right out of college. That's what I was going to do. That was my career. I planned on doing that until I retired, and that was it. And I had no other hobbies, and I just went to work and I went home. And it just realized like that's not good enough. Like I wasn't creating a life that I truly wanted. I was just doing what everyone else does, following, the whole plan. And I was just like, I'm not doing this anymore. I was like, no way. And I had this just deeper calling that I meant to do something else. Like working in the law firm, I felt kind of, I'm not expressing my full spectrum. I'm just like sitting at a desk and making friends, but getting in trouble for talking with them. And just like these silly little things. I'm like, this is like, I'm in a cage. So, I had this new feeling of like wanting to do more or just like wanting to expand in my life. So I was like, all right, I'm going to do it. I'm going to create my own business. So I'm just like on Instagram one day and real estate came up. I was like, oh, I'm going to do real estate. That makes a lot of money. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to like invest in real estate. And then one day when I'm done with that, I'll create a wellness center. So like that was like my goal, really, the wellness center. But at first I'm just thinking about money. I'm thinking about like different other things outside of myself. So I go to do that. So I set up a whole business. I got an LLC. I'm like, this is what I'm going to do. So I did that for 3 months and I absolutely hated it. I said, no, I can't do this. Like it wasn't fun. I wasn't expressing myself. It was kind of like me picking my jobs at the law firms. Like it was just kind of another thing to do. And I was not looking inside. I was not looking at myself, my skills, my passions, nothing. So it's totally external. So I was like, cut that out. We're not going to do that anymore. I really had this calling to just go within. I didn't know what spirituality really was at the time, which is interesting. But I just had this a feeling of, I just want to know myself more and get to know my passions. At the time, like I had no hobbies. I didn't like do anything that was fun. So I totally stopped and I searched spiritual podcasts.
Okay.
Again, I had no idea what spirituality was, but it was just like a soul calling of like, go deeper within. So I searched spiritual podcasts. I found this like number one spiritual podcast. I was like, all right. So I listened to like all of her episodes and it just like inspired me and kind of like awakened me, to just know my passions and know my skills. And before I really knew about life coaching, I was talking with my partner and I was like, I loved my friends at the time and just like growing up, everyone would come to me for advice. I was just like that friend that everyone could talk to. So I was telling my partner that and I was like, I wish I could just get paid for just giving people advice. Like, I'm just so good at it. I feel like I really understand people when they like tell me their story or their problem. I see like that bigger picture and I just like want to help them. So that, and then the podcast I was listening to, she was coming out with a coaching institute and it was called the Dharma Coaching Institute. It was about helping people find their purpose in life. And right away I was like, this is me, like 100% yes, full body yes. So I did that, and that started my journey. And I became the life coach. And I was like, this makes so much sense because I already wanted to help people in this way. So it just kind of like put those pieces together. And there I am. That's how I got into becoming a life
Mm-hmm.
coach. So it was just really following my heart, following that intuition. And when, something presented itself to in my life
Mm-hmm.
and it was a full body yes, you say yes, like here we go.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
like from what you're telling us to you telling me right now, like it was meant to be, because if your aspiration was to create a business, to have enough money to open a wellness center to help others, right? Like that idea of
Mhm.
helping others was definitely inherent in you before you even starting listening to podcasts about spirituality and stuff. So like there was
Right.
definitely a seed planted there, and I believe like all you went through was like to have like how to say it, the to find the spark that will put you on the that will start your journey on this coaching life. And yeah,
Mhm.
like that makes sense now. um
Yeah.
Next question. So what is dharma exactly? If you were to define dharma to somebody who doesn't know anything about it, how would you define it?
hmm Sure. So, in simplest terms, Dharma just means soul's purpose.
Hmm.
That's like what is translated through the Dharma Coaching Institute. It's your soul's purpose, and it's the reason why we're here. So, that's what that word means. Um, yeah.
Yeah. So that's I did so what it's Buddhist, right? Like the translation is from like Buddhism or like right?
I want to say it's Sanskrit,
Hmm.
the word Dharma. I could be wrong on that. Um, but yeah, that's just what I've learned through the Dharma Coaching Institute
Yeah.
as it being your soul's
And
purpose.
then how does one find the soul purpose? What's the path that like somebody if they want to the path somebody must put themselves on in order to start a journey to find their purpose? How does that work?
hmm hmm so there's different, I guess, ways of coming upon your purpose. But what I would suggest if someone's out there and they're really just searching for that deeper meaning of their life, I would start within. Honestly, I mean, all the answers are within you. I really believe that we hold so much wisdom in our bodies. Um, So when we're looking for purpose and we're looking for our dharma, it's really already within us. Like kind of how you said before, like that little seedling was already there. I already wanted a wellness center
Hmm.
without really even giving that too much thought. That was already like I loved wellness and I was into yoga. So it's always like a little red thread is what I tell my clients. And it's little things that come up throughout your life um, that really kind of piece it together. So when I'm with my clients and we're working on finding our soul's purpose, I ask them things about their whole life. What a lot of things are what you did as a child. Like, were you into painting or a certain sport or whatever it is? Um, so it's our skills, it's our superpowers, it's our obstacles, it's in our struggles. Like we all have a certain unique story, that no one else has. We have certain skills that nobody else has, or not everybody else has. And those things are not a coincidence. Like, I don't think anything is a coincidence. So if you were really good, just like naturally good at writing, you're meant to use writing as a tool, as a medium. Um, so it's just all of these things within us. Like I said, the skills, superpowers, obstacles that we've gone through, um, you know, maybe if we haven't gone through certain obstacles, we helped our mom go through something, or we helped a really good friend in our childhood go through something. And it's just those experiences that we're absorbing. That is like what lies in our purpose, where we're experiencing these things, we're going through certain things. What I believe is our soul lessons and what we're evolving into. So it's just that whole journey, it's those little things. And I think what, when people sometimes say like, do I have a purpose, or they don't believe that they have a purpose, I feel like they're kind of not looking at how special they are, and they're not realizing how special and important and unique that they are, because it's in that uniqueness. We're all meant to share that unique expression.
It's okay. That's very interesting. But I mean, you just made me think. Do you think you just say like some people don't think they have a purpose? Do you think people don't think they have a purpose, or people misidentify their purpose because of the pressure of society? Like, oh, everybody should have the house, the 2.3 kids since it's average, the golden retriever, the picket fence, like, like me personally, I'm under the impression that people misidentify the purpose, like, keeping up with the Joneses, basically, like the
Oh
car
yeah.
garage. That's more prevalent than people who don't know what the purpose is.
Yeah, for sure. um yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and that's kind of where I was at when I said I had a feeling of having a purpose, and then I went to go do real estate
Hmm.
because it made a lot of money.
Okay.
And that's what a lot of people do. I hear so many people say, oh, I'm going to get into this field. I'm going to go back to college and do this because it's a really good job. It's stable and you make a lot of money. So totally, people absolutely do that. And, you can live your whole life and not live your purpose or not live out your dharma.
Hmm.
Many people do that. Many people do absolutely nothing. And I call it like their rest life. They're just like resting and they're just like hanging out and not doing much or not aspiring for much. And that is completely okay too.
Hmm.
Like that could be absolutely true. I totally know people like that. And I feel like, maybe in their past life, they just gone through so much that they're just here to smell the flowers, and they're not here to do much. And and that's their
Yeah.
journey. We're all on our own unique journey, and however that plays out is absolutely great. Some people love their 9 to 5 jobs, and that could be their purpose. Our purpose or our dharma does not, I know it has a lot to do with your career, but it doesn't have to be your career. You could kind of do any job and live out your dharma. It's just like that underlying skill or the underlying reason of doing what you're doing. So you could do the whole white picket fence and a 9 to 5 job and still live your dharma, as long as your soul is being fueled, if you're excited and you're passionate about it. You could find a company that you truly resonate
Hmm.
with and you love being there. So I mean, that could be it. But I think it's really for the people that feel stuck in the job,
Hmm.
that they don't love the job, they don't love where their life is, they don't have any passions or anything, and they just feel like they have to stay there because of X, Y, and
Okay.
Z. And I'm here to say no, like, you do not have to stay there. That's not why you're here. You're not here to be miserable. You should not wake up and be miserable every day. I did that for many years, and I bypassed my passions or my intuition because I wanted to be stable. I wanted to have money. I wanted to not be quote unquote like the outcast. I just wanted to do what everyone else is doing. This is
Yeah.
it. I didn't think too much about it, and just keep going with your life. So there's many ways. There's many different things you can do in life. But if you're really looking for your dharma or your soul's purpose, you really have to be bold in what you believe in and what you love, and act on it and do it.
I see. I see. And I agree with you. I also notice. I mean, since this is a podcast about about addiction and recovery, uh, it goes without saying that some of us, me included, when we're like trying to cope with, our issues and our like sense of sense of purpose, we were using alcohol and drugs to cope with it, or to blend in, or like to fit in, for so many reasons. And now personally that I'm sober, that like I'm more aware of myself, yeah, more aware of myself, and I'm trying to get in touch with my idea of purpose, finding my purpose, my idea of purpose. What do you think? What's your personal relationship with alcohol and drugs in general? How hindering those substances are to find one's purpose?
Okay, this is an interesting
Mhm.
question because, well, my relationship with alcohol, I don't love alcohol. I don't really drink alcohol actually, because I can't drink a lot because I get sick.
Okay.
So when I would drink when I was younger, I would go out and I would drink. I would always be like badly hungover and just, throwing up and the whole thing. So, I did that for a couple years. I was like, fuck it, because I have a great time, and I'll just handle my sickness later, right? But I think once I got older, I was like, this is totally not worth it. I absolutely hate being sick. I hate feeling like nauseous. And then having a daughter, do not be nauseous, do not be hungover when you have a daughter, or have a child, because then you have no choice. Then you got to like get up and go take care of them. And that is like absolutely horrible. I think I did that like once. I was like, oh my God, never again will I drink. um, so that I haven't really had, too big of an issue with. But like I was telling you before, I do smoke marijuana,
Mm-hmm.
and I smoke it daily. And I do feel like I do have like a little addiction to it. Um, I smoke it, like I said, every day. And it is a little hard to stop. If I want to take a break, or if I don't want to smoke that day, my mind is like, oh, just smoke. Just, it's okay. Like, it makes you feel better. It gives me, for me, I really connect with like my higher self, and I get all these downloads, and I feel real spiritual, and I feel like I connect to myself and my energy more. So I feel like that is the story I've created that makes me feel okay to continue using it every day. Um, so I did want to mention that, and let me know if like this resonates with you, because I'm not too educated, I'd say, on like
Mm-hmm.
addictions and like causing addictions and what's the reasoning behind addictions, right? But when I was thinking about this with me smoking marijuana, I was correlating my quote unquote addiction equaling safety. So what I was thinking is how, well, our underlying feeling, or our underlying thing for everything, is that we want to feel safe.
Mm-hmm.
So that could be, we don't want to live our dharma, we don't want to find our purpose, we want to stay in that job because it's stable, because we're safe here.
Mm-hmm.
That's why, like, even on my journey still, I say hold myself back, or I don't share my voice as much because I feel safe here. I don't feel safe expressing myself and being so loud and out there, and because it can be scary. And I feel like with this, say, addiction of me smoking marijuana, when I smoke, I get lazy and I don't want to really do anything, and that's kind of keeping me safe. I feel safe when I smoke, and just, the outside world kind of goes away and I'm within, and I feel safe in here. Right. So I feel like that part of me, um, I kind of lost my train of thought, but I feel like I think there's like, that's the biggest thing,
Yeah,
is that we want to feel
yeah,
safe, so we do certain things that are maybe out of character, or whatever it is, because we just want to feel
yeah.
safe. So I thought that was really important
No,
to share.
it definitely like you asked if it resonated with me. It does. It did. Me personally, when I was struggling and using heavily, especially like the last stage of my run, I wasn't even hanging out with people. I was isolating because I wanted to feel safe. And I had that habit of like getting high, and my drugs of choice were like cocaine and uppers, and listening to deep house music and dancing my eyes closed in my apartment, really feeling, and I felt really safe. The
Mhm.
difference with what you are telling me, though, I would say, is like I felt safe inside, but I killed my spirituality.
Mhm.
You say you think your spirituality was elevated, you were like downloading your spirituality. My spirituality was, I killed that connection. I was just, in my
Mhm.
world, just, feeling safe, dancing, having fun, but there was not a real world of spirituality, of self, it was just like, yes, I'm in my mind, in myself, I'm safe. I'm not communicating with anything,
Mhm.
That's the
Mhm.
difference, I will say. Like, if I were to compare both views, because I mean,
I like it.
marijuana addiction is real. I'm not gonna downplay it, but like, it's definitely not at the same. It's not as destructive, to me, my humble opinion. And I've seen, because marijuana is legal and people are still being functional. And some people who call themselves sober and still smoke marijuana, I respect that opinion. For me, they can call themselves sober. I'm not one of the sticklers that would be like, "Hey, man, you need to find your own word. You're not really sober." Nah. I mean, it all depends on intentions. But I really like your honesty. Thank you for sharing with us that, like, you think that sometimes you smoke when you shouldn't. That, like, like, you might think it's an addiction. I hope it's not. You know. Um.
um, I like your perspective, and totally, because alcohol is very different, um, than
Mhm.
marijuana. And I also wrote down in my notes here that me saying safety, and talking about this addiction of marijuana, I did write down it is basically a false
Yeah.
sense of safety.
Hmm.
It's that story again that I'm making up, because we all associate a story, and we're making up a story about everything. um so it's just that ego story. Oh, the marijuana is helping me, it's keeping me
Yeah.
safe, it keeps me connected, so I'm just going to keep doing it.
Hmm.
But is it actually helping me? Like, I think about how I have this connection with spirit and energy or whatever with
Hmm.
marijuana, but I would like that. I would like to feel this feeling of safety and this deeper connection without the
Yeah.
marijuana. And I think that's the point of being here, is to experience that. So it's totally like my ego story popping in, just so I can continue using it.
No, but you're not the only one on that journey of like finding the spirituality, and that's where, like, mushroom and acid, psychedelics, basically are a new topic of discussion, and like they're reopening the research on them because they're trying to find, like, the real benefit of it, how we can elevate, like, you have like famous player like Aaron, uh quarterback for the Aaron Rodgers, who openly
Mhm.
speaks about, like doing mushroom, like, and going on journeys to find himself, and he helps him. He helps in his journey. He opened his eyes and stuff, and people are looking more into it. Um, I understand the point. It's just I think it comes to an idea of balance and also intentions. Like, yes,
Mhm.
let's try to find our purpose in life, our higher self, and if we can use, um let's say, like, a catalyst to go on that journey, to kickstart that journey, I'm all for it. But like you said,
Mhm.
when we create that narrative, that story, that false idea of safety, because also me myself, when I was using, I was that was a false idea of safety. That's when we are abusing, I guess, whatever it is that we use, right? Like, because we're
Mhm.
creating now a false sense of a false narrative. Like, it was, we just deviated of the purpose of what we're using it. And this is what addiction is, basically. At first, you use it, it's fun, it's recreational. And then when you use it, you abuse it. That's not recreational anymore. It's just like a way of coping with anything that life throws at you. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, I like that discussion. That was very good. Let's move on to the next question. So, the environment, the world of life coaching, it sounds like a kind of obscure profession when you talk to people about, hey, what do you do? I life coach. What does it entail specifically? Some people find it is, quite suspicious because celebrities have life coach. Some of them make so much money. Some of them also are like have those Instagram following, social media following. Uh, you have Tony Robbins, who is like a famous kind of life coach. People can say like, oh, he's a guru. So, like, how do you identify the funny out of the real? And also, like, yeah, let's answer that. Then we're gonna talk about the money aspect of it later. So, like, how do you identify people intentions when they enter or when they pretend to be life coach? What was your experience with that?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Um, kind of say the question again.
So, like, in the life coach in the industry, you have people who are like basically running scams, and you have those who
Okay.
have right intentions. How
Oh,
do
I
you
gotcha.
discern? How do you make the difference between both? Like, how do you know which?
Mm,
How do you know who's who? Basically.
right. That's a tough question. Because people could totally scam, or just not have, the real knowledge to help um, you in your life. So, I mean, I do want to say one point: being a life coach um, is very different than being like a mentor or a guru. A mentor is like, you've gone through an experience, you know all about it, and you kind of just teach or tell them how to do whatever they want to do. But life coaching is really reflecting um, questions and your life back at you. It, like I said, it's a hard question because how do you know if you're really you're going to go through the program, and if you get nothing out of it, then that's probably not a good thing.
Mhm.
But like for me, for example, when I coach, I I really try not to share too much about myself or my journey. Like I do that a lot on Instagram, and that's kind of like the mentor aspect of like teaching, because I love to teach and, share my experience to help others. But life coaching, is asking those powerful questions so you can get the answers within yourself. Um, so, asking a question like, um, if you have no limitations and you can do anything in the world, what would you want to do in the next 3 to 6 months, and really just put them in a situation where they have to think about certain things that they've never thought about, and I really dive into, I really question their beliefs, and I question these stories that they're telling themselves, because a lot of times, we're listening to our ego mind. We're listening to, our, what I call the lower brain. And it's just that, the brain where it tells us to keep us safe and no, we can't do this and we have to stay where we are. And it's kind of like, a scarcity mindset. Whereas I help them shift into our higher self mindset, that love based, that, I can do this, I can do anything that I set my mind to, and I'm totally limitless in what I can achieve. So it's helping them see that different perspective, and then also helping them really connect with themselves. Because I think I mentioned earlier how I feel the first way, or the first step in finding your dharma and your soul's purpose, is going within. It's that self-awareness and self-discovery and figuring out yourself. So it's really reflecting certain questions back at you, so you can dive deeper into your soul and who you are and what you've come here to do. So that is kind of really hard to, portray. That's what I think is really hard for me to help people understand, because life coaching is an experience. It's not as easy as just like selling a product where there's a
Yeah.
label and there's all the ingredients, and this is what you're going to get, right? So it is kind of hard to pick out like a really good life
Yeah.
coach, because you need to kind of experience their experience, get into their energy. Everyone's so different. You could have that Tony Robbins kind of, life coach where they're like, yeah, you're going to do this. And, we're going to set all these goals and you're going to achieve them and you're going to do it now. There's that like high energy, masculine energy type of thing. Or there's like the more feminine energy coach, and it's really, nurturing and, getting into your feelings and being more grounded and coming into this space, where you feel safe. And that's kind of where I'm more comfortable in. I don't really want to yell and be, so harsh. Sometimes, if you're really like, if I know you want to do something and you're just not doing it, maybe I'll give you a little kick. But so there's so many different type of styles of life coaching. So you just have to trust your intuition, trust that feeling. If I feel like I know a lot of people aren't, too connected maybe with their intuition, or acting on those feelings, but usually life coaches have, what they call like discovery calls, or a certain, like example, and they'll sit with you and kind of do like a practice, session, just so you can kind of feel into their energy. So I would advise to do that, to do a type of, if you're interested in life coaching, to get on a certain call so you can feel that energy. And you're going to know if they're all baloney.
Yeah.
You'll feel like, they don't know what the hell they're talking about, and you'll just kind of know. So always listen to that. Always listen to that intuition, and that feeling. So
That's beautifully said, like, and the only thing issue I see is for somebody who is recovering from addiction, who tampered with their intuition so long because of, you know, substance abuse. It's quite difficult to listen to your intuition again. I mean, at the end of the day, when you recover, you want to be able to trust your gut feelings and, like, believe your intuition. And it's gonna, hopefully you're gonna get there. Like me personally, I'm recently in a state where, like, I trust myself again. I trust my intuitions. Even if sometimes I cannot explain them logically, I get most of the time proven right later on. I can trust my intuition again. And for somebody who, I can understand how somebody who is fresh or who is early in their recovery journey might not want to be able, no, might not want to trust their intuition, or like is very careful on trusting their intuition because of how chemically, uh, unbalanced their brain is at the moment, and so at least
Mhm.
some of us were in addiction longer than others, and that balance might never come, like, chemically balanced, so they need to be careful.
Mm.
Um,
Mm.
but my next question is, what justified then, you know, if we have the old life coach, let's say, were to be willing to help everybody find the purpose in life, let's say like all life coach or good life coach, what justify paying Tony Robbins money versus paying something that's more like reasonable? Like what, how is there,
Mhm.
sorry, how do you justify, I mean, I don't want to say how you justify it, but how, if somebody were to say to you, wait, that's quite a pricey just to get advice, right? Like how, what would be your argument, your counter argument?
Hmm. This is interesting. Okay, so I mean, yeah, like Tony Robbins and all those big guys, like you could pay probably 50,000 for like a session or,
Yeah.
a package with them, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you're getting their experience. As you grow, as I grow as a life coach, um, you just you see you see the bigger picture, like I was kind of saying. You see the stories, you already see kind of, oh, they're telling themselves this story, they don't believe in themselves, and you just kind of see
Mm-hmm.
it, so you kind of know already the questions to ask them, and to make them see, because that's what you really want. You don't want to tell them, oh, you have this issue, you're not believing in yourself. You want to ask them questions so they can see, wow, I'm not, truly listening to myself, or so I think it's really, like I said, in those questions, those powerful questions, that you're going to get the result that you're looking for, right? Because as a life coach, and as anything, if you go and seek, they can't do it for you. Like, it is gonna be you. I can ask you the questions, I can give you guided meditations, I could do, give you all these things. But if you are not going to either act on it, or truly analyze your thoughts and your stories and your beliefs and these things that are like holding you back, then you're not going to get the result. You're not going to move forward. Right. So it is taking that responsibility, and, you want the change. It's, if you want the change, then you're going to finally get there, and move that needle. So did that answer that question?
Yeah, you said like what I got from it is like basically what just is like people's experience. Like the Tony Robbins, they have so much more experience. They have, sorry for taking Tony Robbins, but he's the famous one. So like they have so much experience that they can identify, help you get there, because like you said, it's about showing, you can only show the door to a person, but you cannot force them to cross it, and those
Right.
people who are very successful in their life coach career, life coaching career, uh, have
Mhm.
probably more tools to identify what their client needs, and yeah, it's
Right.
like it's a,
I,
yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, I also feel like, also in my experience, being a life coach, you're going to put your price point where you feel confident enough,
Okay.
right? So if you're paying for something, say the life coach, you get them for a month and it's only like $200.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how good that life coach is going to be, because they don't believe that they are worth more than $200,
Oh,
you know?
okay. That's an interesting approach.
So that, yeah, that I see a lot, because I have a lot of like coaching friends and in that coaching space, and this is a big topic for us. We don't know where to put our price point, because there's no scale.
Yeah.
There's not like, oh, water costs $2, so we have to make it $2. You could make it anything, but it is how confident you feel that you're going to be able to give them that result.
Mhm.
So if you're not confident in yourself, you're not sure if you can help, someone through your coaching experience, you're probably not going to put it that high,
Yeah.
because you're like, I don't want them to pay all this money and then they get nothing from it. And it's like this whole story and the whole
Yeah.
cycle. Right. So I do really believe that if your price is always on how confident you are in that result.
That
So that could be it too.
yeah, that's actually
Because Tony Robbins is definitely going to be able to change your life,
yeah.
without a doubt. And I'm sure he's very confident and he knows it and he's been doing it for a long time, and that's what it
Yeah.
is. So that's actually a good thing to look at if they are pricing their packages or whatever kind of low. And that's always perspective, because we all have different money mindsets. So 200 could be like way out of someone's league. Um, so yeah, it's so hard because we all have such different beliefs and mindsets. But
So
that is a very good point.
yeah. So like before I move on to like another topic of the idea of purpose. So what will be a good mindset when you start life coaching? You start the business of life coaching. Like I'm sure like I mean, you tell me what's your experience. Do people start life coaching thinking they're going to make money? And if those people are thinking they're going to start making money, are they necessarily bad coaches?
That is an interesting question. So, I mean, when I started life coaching, it was not about the money. I didn't even know how much money, you could make really. It was just that underlying, like I had the skills, I had the desire to help people, basically shift their life and change their life, because I went through certain things of, just my journey in figuring myself out and standing up for myself and being able to share my voice and these certain things that I had stories around. So my journey being a life coach has really helped me find my purpose and find, the certain areas that I'm holding myself back, um, in being my most authentic, expressive self. Um, so the journey is not easy because it's a lot of facing your own fears.
Mhm.
And that's when I was in the Dharma Coaching Institute. It was a 6-month program. I learned so much about myself, so much of how I was holding myself back. And, I was a people pleaser. I did things for others and I listened to other people more than I listened to myself. And I really didn't have a connection with my intuition. As growing up, and a lot of people growing up, we're kind of told to think about others' feelings before our own feelings,
Mhm.
and do things for other people and put yourself last and you don't matter. Um, so it's so many things like that. And just, building that intuition, building that trust within yourself. Um, it just brings you through this journey of self realization. I don't even know, self discovery, self acceptance.
I see. I get it. All right. I want to talk about shadow work. What is shadow work and why is it important to personal growth? Which is important to finding, one's purpose in life.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think I was just kind of touching on that, so this is really good.
Mhm.
Um, Shadow work is looking at yourself, looking at so much. I feel like about the ego. Like I talk a lot about your ego versus your higher self. Your higher self being that wisdom, the all knowing. That you have this bigger purpose, and then the kind of the ego, kind of creating this alternative motive or an alternative like reality of I have to do this, or I want to be successful and I want to show people, or whatever the story. There's so many different stories with the ego. But with the shadow work, I feel like you're analyzing these certain stories, questioning if it's true. Um, and I feel like it's important because these stories or these certain things are holding you back from being your most authentic
Mhm.
self. You're not being your true self. Like if you're people pleasing, right? I'll take that as an example. I'm doing things for others. I'm going places because I don't want them to feel bad.
Mhm.
That's not me being my authentic self. That's not me listening to my body and what I want to do. That's living for somebody else and somebody else's feelings. So what I would do is I would, really honor my body and practice, listening to those small signals. I hear it all the time where people are like, oh, I felt it. I felt that something was going to go wrong and I didn't listen or I did something else, and this happens. So we really have to honor that. We have to honor our feelings. We have to honor our bodies. Like I mentioned, there's so much wisdom. We have all the answers that we need ever throughout our life. Like they're in with us already. And the stories and the ego is just kind of like creating this shield around you. It's again that safety and protection. We're trying to keep you safe. So we're going to do things or we're going to hide because that safety is so important that we might do things that are extreme. We might do things that are just out of character. So it's really just about analyzing and questioning those beliefs and questioning those thoughts that maybe are not ours.
Mhm.
I use this example like when I was a child, my mom would tell me a lot, like, I don't like certain foods. Like, I didn't grow up like eating a very variety of foods. I ate very like plain foods, right? And I just remember my mom would always say, like, oh, you don't like that. So you don't eat that. You don't eat those things, right? So I just grew up with this story. Like, I don't like blueberries, right? Silly story, but this could apply to anything, right? So I don't like blueberries. I go through my whole life not liking blueberries. Or wait, I don't want to use that. I want to use art.
Mhm.
Okay. So say you're a child and you love art. You love art so much and you love colors. So you're in your art class and you're coloring and your art teacher
Mhm.
tells you that it's not good, right? They tell you they're not good. Your art sucks or whatever, right? Just not even that it sucks. It could just be like, it doesn't even have to be like a huge story. It could be like
Yeah.
the smallest comments that
Mhm.
someone told you, right? That you're not good at art, right? So now you go through your entire life. I'm not good at art. I can't do that, But what if your dharma was to be an artist, you know? And in the back of your mind, you feel that is your purpose. You feel like, oh, I want to do art. It just brings out a light in me, but that story is blocking you.
Mhm.
That story, I'm not an artist. Maybe you don't even really remember or correlate the story of, my art teacher told me my art
Mhm.
sucked. But it's within you. It stays within your body, right? We carry all these types of little stories and these little things without us throughout our life. Um, so if we live our life like that, and we're not being the artist, we're not expressing our fullest
Mhm.
expression, we're not living true to ourselves, right? So if you want and you want to become the artist and you want to say fuck you guys and you want to do what you love doing and screw it all, you might have to go in, you might have to do a little shadow work,
Mhm.
you might have to come to that realization that this story is not mine. Somebody else told me this story. I do not have to accept this story as my own. I can create a new story. And you move on with, I am an artist. It's in my soul, it's my passion, and that is what I'm doing. And it's really like standing your ground. And I tell people this a lot about, standing strong in what you believe in, because those are your beliefs. That is your truth. It doesn't matter if anyone else believes it, if anyone, makes sense of it or understands. It has nothing to do with them because you're on your own journey. It's very specific to you, and whatever you feel and whatever you know in that wisdom of your body, that is what you should be doing,
Okay.
right?
I feel.
So that shadow work, I think. Oh,
No, yeah, no, keep
yeah.
going. Yeah,
I was going to close out by just
yeah.
saying, the shadow work is really to clear the way,
Yeah.
clear the way for your dharma and your soul's purpose, so you can live in that authentic self.
So I really like that question, that answer. Sorry. So what are some methods or techniques do you find most effective for identifying and addressing shadow aspect of oneself of or others, and also how, because I guess it's important do to have proper techniques to identify your shadow aspects, because my concern with shutting everyone else out, or like just listening, how do you not fall into delusion, how you not become delusional, right? So there must be a proper process, right? Is that shadow work something that you can do on your own, or you must be guided into?
That is an interesting question. Because I feel like, I mean, with my journey, I never thought about any of that stuff, on my own. I didn't know what shadow work was. And I wouldn't know any tools of how to, process certain things, right? So I definitely think you probably would need a life coach, or even like YouTube videos of just, doing something just so you can kind of identify where to start.
Yes.
Right. I think, yeah, you would probably need, unless, you can really, sit down with yourself and meditate
Mhm.
and, take that responsibility of really, looking at your actions or looking at your thoughts and questioning them. But yeah, you might need help.
Yeah.
You might not know that off the scratch, because I definitely didn't. It took a coach asking me
Mhm.
questions, through the Dharma Coaching Institute, and really reflecting back of where, I'm not acting in my fullest expression. Um, so yeah, I definitely think you would need some type of guidance,
I see.
like you said.
um
And then your other question was like tools to use, or
yeah,
what?
method or techniques, maybe meditation, like hypnosis. I don't know, I'm just throwing stuff out there. Like, I don't even know if hypnosis is a method. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is. It definitely is. I don't know much about that.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, there's so many different tools and things that we can do to help us in our shadow work and processing emotions and stagnant energy. Um, it really depends on, like, the individual is just so unique, right? So, let's see, if I'm working with a client, they could have a real story around their
Mhm.
confidence, that they're just not good enough, or their self-worth. And that's all in our, if we're talking about chakras and in our body, because all the stories are within our bodies, right? And when I mentioned how your story is going to stay with you in your body until you really process and accept, and just show it awareness, right? Because all the stories, or all these things within us, they want to be
Yeah.
recognized, you know so if you have this story with low self-esteem, or you don't have too much confidence, sitting, so that would be your, um it's like your stomach area,
Mhm.
right? So that's the chakra that is around self-worth and that confidence. So example would be sitting with your hands on that center, right? And feeling, this sounds so weird to people that may not understand, but sitting silence, closing your eyes and feeling into that space, you know, And I also like to massage the space, because when it's stuck in, like, the story literally is stuck in there, it's stuck. There's stagnation, there's energy just like sitting there. Um, and you have to move it. We have to move it out. We have to process it. So it's about like physically moving that area. And things might start coming up, different words, or you start thinking about this
Mhm.
story or scenario, and you're starting to kind of like realize and process, what's there,
Mhm.
what story is there. And I like to go through this type of process, like, it's the awareness, right? It always starts with awareness, where we're recognizing that, okay, I have this story there, someone may have told me something and it's not mine, but I've really taken it to heart. um, so you sit there and you kind of move it out, and you show yourself, another step is showing yourself compassion for it.
Yeah.
you know
Mhm.
you have to have compassion for yourself. You have to have compassion for these
Mhm.
stories, because there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with the story. It's nothing wrong with, taking that story to heart, and keeping it there, stagnant in your body. There's nothing wrong with it. We're all on this journey. We all have certain things. Like, none of us are completely free of these stories and these beliefs, right? We all have them. So it's awareness and compassion for it, and then the physical releasing, rubbing it or massaging it out, or shaking is a really fun thing that I do, to get that energy or that stagnation moving. We all just need to move it out. That's why a lot of these, you see it in the community, like the dancing,
Ecstatic
and we're
dance.
having these static
Yes.
dances, and yeah, and these releasing ceremonies, is because we're holding on to the stories. We're holding on to all these things because they feel safe, they feel comfortable. And when we release them and we, shake it out, or massage it out, it releases it. It just wants to be, like, recognized. It just wants love. Love is the highest
Mhm.
frequency. If you can show that story, or show that, emotion, love, um, it truly helps. It truly releases itself,
Yeah.
and there's always layers to it.
Mhm.
So, you can't, I can't say you're going to go through one session of, massaging it out and
Mhm.
releasing it, and that's it. Right. Because I've even seen that on my journey, where I've gone through like the people pleasing
Yeah.
stories, and I've worked on it and I'm better. And then, a scenario will come up in your
Yeah.
life, and it'll be like, are you really over it?
Mhm.
Are you sure? And it's going to like poke at you, and it's going to be like, oh, there's another layer there,
Yeah.
and it's okay. Again, it's okay to have that.
Mhm.
That's part of the journey. And we're going to just keep moving through the layers and moving forward,
Oh, yeah.
you know?
That's good. Like when
So those are some tools.
Mhm. No, 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 no. Sorry. I was just gonna, piggyback on what you said, moving to the layers. And I wanted to use a specific example for, people who suffer from trauma. Is there, and you go through shadow work with them. Is there a special, I don't know,
Mhm.
approach to take to make sure that, like, they're like in a safe environment where because can you actually get over your trauma? That's a good question. Through shadow work, is that, or is it a way to mitigate the effect that a traumatic experience can have on somebody's life?
Mm, I really like that. And I don't believe, like you said, getting over
Yeah,
it. I don't think it's about getting over it. Like, you're not going to forget it. It's your story. That's part of who you are. Um, Traumas are very tricky,
yeah.
and I'm not like a trauma coach, right?
Hmm.
There's literally coaches for specifically that, who really, hold that space. And I do hold that space. Um, just like if you've gone through, there's different levels of trauma,
Yeah.
right? We call big T, little T traumas. We all have little T
Yeah.
traumas. That teacher telling you that you suck at art is a
Little
little T
trauma.
trauma.
Yeah.
That's trauma. Now you're not going to ever, I'm never going to do art again. Like that's horrible.
Yeah.
You never want to experience it. Right. And then there's the big T traumas, that everyone is aware of. So it isn't about getting over it. It is about being there for yourself and processing it within your own body, because the trauma is one event, say, or maybe multiple events, but it's physically the trauma is there, but the trauma is now energetically in your body. And that is where it lives. So the trauma is no longer, say your trauma happens 10 years ago. It's not happening now, right? You may be in a safe space now. Maybe, you were abused or something, and now you live on your own and you're safe, but you don't feel safe because that trauma is still within your body. So it's about really being there for yourself. I really stress this on people, that you have to love yourself and physically be there for yourself. Hold your body, give yourself a hug, hold your heart, rub your heart space, say loving things to yourself, giving yourself that space to have the emotions. Your emotions are like within you, and maybe, you don't want to be angry anymore, or you don't want to be sad anymore. So you kind of just like push it down, or you just like push it under the rug, but it's still going to be there. It's not going to go away. That's why I feel like a lot of people, this may be going off topic, but people that are like overweight, not that everyone has this thing, but I feel like it accumulates, maybe emotional trauma or certain things just accumulating in your body. Maybe you're gaining weight through that, or maybe it's coming out as something else, but it's going to stay within your body. And the only way for you to experience that freedom and that release is being there for yourself, and truly doing that work. And it's just showing yourself love. Like I said, love is the highest frequency. Show yourself love, show the emotions love. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to be sad. It's perfect to cry. I encourage crying. Cry, because it's a release. It wants to get out of you. It doesn't want to stay there, but we're so scared and nervous that we hold on to these things. So it's really processing the trauma. And it doesn't mean talking through it. Like I've done therapy a little bit, and I've had clients that have done therapy. And then a lot of people say that therapy doesn't really even help. Like, I don't like the idea of continuously like talking about the trauma.
Okay.
Because that is one layer, right? The layers that need to be loved and need to be accepted are within your body, and you need to move it out, and you need to, be there for yourself and show yourself compassion like that, so talking about it, talking through it or whatever is good, I guess, maybe in the beginning or something. But it's just about processing the traumas, or it's more of the emotions, because the emotions are within your body that are stuck, and you're holding on to those emotions of it. So yeah, it's always, and it's a process. Like I said, there's layers, and just kind of noticing that it's a journey, and to continue processing and moving forward. I think that's the only way, not to get over the traumas, but just to process and move forward in life.
I get it.
Just having those tools of being there for yourself, right?
Right. All right. Last question before I give you the floor. I wanted to circle back to, at the beginning of the interview, you said it was a full moon, the biggest full moon, the blue moon. So, me personally, I started, this holistic journey recently, like a year ago, and I come from like a very analytical. I'm a software engineer. I like, science 1 + 1 = 2 kind of guy. And I understand the effect of the moon on our body, because we can see the effects of the moon on the tides with 70% water. So I can conceive that, like, full moon will affect our physiology. No question about that. Now, when you tell me that Mercury is in retrograde and I'm feeling a certain type of way, or like the deeper end of astrology, you lose me. So how will you, yeah, I mean, seriously. So, so how would you explain, like, the effect of astral bodies in our journey ourselves? Like, what's your position on that?
I love this. And I totally get where you're coming
Yeah,
from, because my partner is like, I don't know if he totally doesn't believe in what I say when I talk about the moon or what.
yeah.
But it even happened yesterday, because I'm like, oh, I'm feeling so tired. And maybe other people can relate, like,
Mm-hmm.
or you can relate. Like, I have been feeling really tired. And I was like, oh, it's the full moon tomorrow. Like, there's just a lot of energy going on. He's like, okay, yeah, it's the moon. I'm like, it is. It's the moon. Right. So, so this is awesome. I'm so happy that we're going to talk about this.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm not an expert, right? I do listen to this lady. Her name is Danielle Page. She's an
Mm-hmm.
astrologer. And she talks a lot about the collective and the energy and astrology. Um, so that's kind of where I get some of my info from. And then also literally feeling like the energy and, what she says and how I feel it in that time. So yeah, like right now, Mercury and Venus are in retrograde, right? So I don't know the
Yeah.
specifics of that, but
Okay.
how I just how I describe it is that, there's energy all around us, right? And then we are energy beings.
Mm-hmm.
So as we are moving through as we're moving through time and space here, um, we have a certain energy, and then there's a certain energy that the universe has. I was going to say the collective, but just the universe in general has an energy. So it's how, like, we are reacting to that energy, right? Because we're all different. So some of us may not feel um, anything. We might just not be aware of that type of energy, and or maybe we are. Like, a lot of people get sick during these certain times. They get sinus issues, and it's because there's so much energy, and maybe it's trying to clear you out. A lot of times when we get sick, or we're especially like with our sinuses, it's um I don't want to say the universe. It's just the energy. It's so hard to say the words. But it's just the energy moving through
Yeah.
us. So energy is there no matter what. If you don't believe in the moon, that's fine. Um, but it's happening. Like, energy is happening. So it's just like how we react to the energy with our own energy, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. No, like, like I was saying, like the moon for me makes sense. And I mean, I'm gonna be
Mhm.
a little bit technical here. Even if you observe like Newton third law, like, like pull the forces between two bodies that are in the same space. The way I see it, like there's always a force between two objects, but it's also relative to the distance between them, right? It's like, let's say, like it's like a magnet and a coin. You know, come the if the magnet is if the coin is closer to the magnet, at some point it's going to be pulled, by the force, like, by the magnet uh, pull. But at a certain distance, there's no reaction, right? When you play with a magnet, you see that, the stronger the magnet, the stronger the pull.
Mhm.
But like,
Mm.
I feel like, I'm sorry, excuse my skepticism, but I feel like some astral bodies are so far from us that, like, do we really feel their energy? Like, the moon is close enough for me to believe in it because we see it. Now, when Venus and
Mhm.
Mercury, I'm like, like, maybe I'm gonna feel it one day, but right now I'm like, nah. Like, I I don't think I think those astral bodies, those planets, are too far away for me to feel anything. You know?
Hmm. I mean, that totally makes sense, right? And we're always going to come up with a
Yeah.
story that makes sense to us. And I love it. I love you sharing your perspective. And I know so many people feel this way. Like, I literally live in the house with like someone who feels the complete opposite that I feel. It's fine. It's great. Like, that's all of our journey,
Yeah.
right? So, um, but I do think, and I've been watching, I just watched a show about the universe. I'm reading now a book about the universe. And it's hard for our human mind to really comprehend it
Mm-hmm.
because we're standing on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
But like the time, like the space between like Earth and Venus, say, or like the time between them, like it's just distorted. Like we have like no idea. Like they were talking in the show about the universe, how like, they were traveling, into space, and it was like they were traveling in 2 seconds. They were traveling like a million miles in 2 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
So like time here on Earth is slower. Everything is slower. That's why we can be here on Earth, because it's slower. I don't know how fast the Earth is moving. We don't feel
Mm-hmm.
that. So it is very hard to wrap our heads around how Venus or the planets are affecting our mood. But each planet is just energy, right? And energy has no form, and it doesn't matter. I know you were saying about the magnets, and I do think that might be just different. Um, but yeah, it's hard to wrap our head around. Like we're standing on Earth, we're floating
Mm-hmm.
in outer space, like we're literally on a floating rock here. So it totally makes sense to me that people don't understand it, and I don't think anyone completely understands or can make sense of it, because it's amazing. Like it's just it's wild. So, but it's just energy. It's just energy, and every planet has their own energy or rules their own frequency. Say, I don't know exactly, but like one planet is about communication, and it's just that energy of how we communicate.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to say it's Mercury, but I'm not sure for sure. But like if it's in retrograde, then we see things coming up in our life that we're having issues like communicating with people or certain things. So I wish I knew more about astrology, and I'm gonna take an astrology course so I can share more info about it. But that's all it is.
Yeah.
And I think we, like in the community that we're in, and when I talk to certain people, like, going through their life, we're all kind of going through similar things,
True. True.
because there's also like a collective
Yeah.
energy and a collective, moving through the seasons, you know. When I got fired from my job, and I'm on this like membership, a lot of people got fired from their job like in the same week. That is not a coincidence. Like that is just weird. Um, it's just like crazy, and you can only really understand that if you're talking to like a group of people. And I see that like all the time in our
Yeah.
community. We're all like, oh, I got fired, oh, I had like a huge breakup, oh, I just moved, like some big shift just happened, and we all kind of did it at
Mm-hmm.
the same moment. And it's that energy pushing us through, and whatever we're going through in our journey, it's moving with that energy. So
I agree.
I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, I understand the energy part, and I'm willing to learn more. It's just like me, my approach to anything is a little bit of beliefs. I like to be explained things, and sometimes I need me. That's my personal struggle
Hmm.
journey in life. Some things you need to believe before understanding them, which is a hard thing for me to do sometimes, you know. But yeah, I'm willing to.
Hmm.
All right.
Oh yeah, a lot of people.
That was it. So now the floor is yours. You know, tell us what you want to share, what you already say what's going on, but where to find you, how to find you, are you like coaching anyone right now, how open your books are, so I can add, I'm gonna add definitely all the social media handles and website to the show notes. So yeah, people, so the floor is yours.
Awesome. Awesome. Hi. What's mine? No, I won't say too much. I did just want to say one thing. It's not a quote from myself. It's a quote from, her name is Coach Yari, Yari. You can find her on Instagram. But it's a quote that I love, and I will share it here. It is, "Fear is the mask that freedom wears." I'll say it again. Fear is the mask that freedom wears.
Wow.
Okay.
Great.
So I know. I love that quote, and I can share it as many times as I possibly can, because fear is what's holding us back. Right? No matter what the story is, fear is that keeping us safe. Our mind is creating this story, so we're safe, and it's all about safety, right? We're going back to safety. But on the other side, like, the only way to move forward, like on my journey and being a life coach, and I want to share my message literally with the world, and I want to help humanity, I have fear of doing that. I've never did public speaking. I was horrible at public speaking. I never wanted to be the center of attention. I purposely didn't have like a sweet 16 or anything, because I do not want people looking at me, right? So how am I supposed to, be this grand speaker and help humanity and expand in that way, right? If I am holding myself back from with fear. So like I've always mentioned, it's a journey and moving through that fear, because on the other side is expansion, is freedom. And yeah, like that journey right there is what I'm going through right now. Like, I still have fears of certain things. This is my first podcast that I've right before it, when you asked me, I was like, yes, I have to, right? This opportunity is being presented in my life, and I take it, right? So my message, with that quote as well, is you do things scared. You do things with the fear. Like, the fear is not going away. I've talked to, people and coaches that are way ahead of me, and they still have fear. So the fear is never going away, but you walk alongside the fear. You just bring it with you. Like, you're scared and you do it anyway. I was scared before this, I do it anyway. Like, you just talk and you just go, right? So your mind is always going to tell you stories, and 90% of the time you should not be listening to your mind. Your mind is just an organ. It's a function like everybody else, like everything else in your body, and the function for your brain is to think. So it's automatically thinking. It's going to think stories and scenarios and, blocks, and it's going to say no, and it's going to do all these things, right? And we have to kind of realize that that's like the mind's job, is to create the stories, but to also realize, like, those are just your stories. Some of them, maybe most of them, are not true. So it's about realizing that. And we have other quote unquote brains within our body. And our body is where that true wisdom is, and that intuition is. The intuition is not in your mind. So if your mind's telling you something and you think it's your intuition, it might just be your ego. Because my ego is spiritual too. My ego is all wise and everything, but it's the ego. And I realize when that one is, trying to run the show. And I have to tap back in to my body, listening to my heart, listening to my gut. And that is where I make decisions from. That's the only place. So I think that's really important to share, especially for people who are not yet really connected with their intuition. And I have only just, maybe this year, have really built that strong connection with intuition. So it's just like a muscle to learn. Right. So if you're in a place where you can't hear it, let's just say there's hope. There's hope for you, because it's just a process and it's just a skill. So really listening to your body and trusting your body because it knows the way. So that's kind of what I wanted to share. I do have a program coming up in October. I will be launching. It's a 1-month program, 30 days. We go through, well, first I'll say it's helping you shift your life into soul alignment. So bringing you, maybe you hate your job or, you just aren't happy with the way your life is going. I help you shift into what feels truly authentic and in alignment with your soul and your truth. So that is what we work on for the month. We work on your mindset. We work on all your body layers, the mind, your physical body, how you're taking care of your physical body and your relationship with it. We go through your emotions and any stories that are holding you back. And we pull those out and we, shine some light on them. And we go through, did I say your energy already? We go through your intuition, building that connection, and also looking into your ego and your personality that you've created, and so much more. I also do a little astrology and a little human design reading because I feel like that really helps you kind of just understand yourself better. And then we make a plan, like a little map of the next 6 months. So we really take what we've learned. We take, everything about your soul and your soul's purpose, and we make a plan and we kind of map it out and actions that you can take in order to shift that life. And I help you on that journey. So that's launching in October. You can reach me on, I believe it's the 16th. I wrote it down. So I think the official date is the 16th. If you want to join my wait list, you'll be the first to know. And then it is a little earlier than October 16th, and you get a special discount when you sign up for the wait list. So you can look at that. You can learn more about what soul purpose coaching is on my Instagram. My Instagram is Josie's Dharma, JosiesDharma. And that's how you can find me.
All right. Oh my God, that was great. That was a great interview. And yeah, I mean, it's not often. I think maybe one of the guests was not in recovery. So, this interview was definitely refreshing to interview somebody who the topic is definitely very important to somebody who is in recovery and want to stay sober, and because the idea of life purpose, definitely if you identify it, could help you stay sober. And also it will help a lot of people who are also not in recovery. So it's the topic for everybody, and I appreciate you, and I appreciate you being a guest to this, and I hope that our listeners gonna contact you and get part of your program. And guys, I will see you for the conclusion. Bye. All right. That was it for episode number 38 with Josie on our purpose in life. Thank you, Josie, for coaching us through what it means to be to fulfill our purpose in life and guiding us to those concepts as shadow work and stuff. It's always good to I always appreciate having a guest who can help those who are in recovery but are not necessarily in recovery themselves. I cannot wait for you guys to see you guys next week. I have a bunch of episodes for you, and also I think that next week I'm gonna probably release the roundtable episode 3 on this channel. But as always, please support us on Instagram, follow us on Instagram, and support us on IG. Thank you.